to the shop today, LeGrand Stereo and Music, where we're repairing a BC Rich body art. The body art collection, look at that. I've already taken the truss rod cover off of that and it has never been touched, but fortunately we checked that and it works. As you can see, the nut has been glued back on very poorly, and there's glue all over the nut and the fretboard. So I'm gonna knock that nut off of there and reattach it and get all that guck off of the guitar, make it look a little better. Fingerboard is very dirty. Frets are very unpolished. So we're gonna take care of all of that. BC Rich humbuckers, look at that, really. And, this pickup, as commonly happens, somebody was in there turning screws and turned it too far and the pickup fell out. And we're hoping that the spring is in there, but I'm gonna have to put a new screw and a spring in there and get that attached correctly. So I'm pulling the strings off of this. We're gonna do a new set of strings. Intonation, neck relief, make sure the neck is swooping at the right amount. String action here, 5/64 at the 12th fret on the low or bass E string, and 3/64 up here on the high or treble E string. We will check all of the electronics and make sure there's no glitches in that, or clicks or bumps or scratches, and the output jack is loose like most commonly is. We'll pull that out of there, make sure there's a lock washer behind that. That's probably the case. This is a guitar was made in China, so it's likely that there's no lock washer behind that. That's just kind of how the quality control goes over there. So time to get the strings off of this and get busy. Oh, and by the way, I just got back to work from a short vacation, and man, I had a blast. I got to play a ton of guitar with some very good friends in my hometown of Portland. Really awesome time. I'm happy to be back at work. While I was in Portland, I worked on 3 different guitars. 3. Right? Is that how they? 3 guitars. And it was really fun. Went shopping, got some good new clothes and a new jacket for the winter, which is coming right up, right around the corner. Just want to say welcome myself back to the shop, and today I am greeted with this. Isn't that awesome? Yeehaw! Here's a clue. Don't do this with your guitar. Wrap them the correct direction around the pin. Somebody's changed these top 2 strings. The other thing they've done is they tied the strings in a knot up here, and the D string is also tied in a knot. You can see how that string is wound in between it's just wound like if you broke a string. Okay, number one, it's useless to do this. It does absolutely nothing but make the strings hard to change. So don't ever do that. This string is wound correctly. As you can see, it's nice and tidy, and it's all wound in order. Just run the string over the top of the windings through the hole in the machine head. That is how to correctly put a string on a guitar. Ask any guitar manufacturer. They will tell you to never, ever tie your strings in a knot. What happens with this is you break a string at a gig and you're 15 minutes untying that knot, which I will be, using my cutters to get that string off of there, which most guitar players wouldn't show up to a gig with any tool, even a screwdriver or an Allen key or really anything. So if this string was broken at a gig, you're going to be a long ways off getting a new string and back in action. So don't ever do that with your guitars. That somebody had glued back on, and they used like expanding like glue from a trailer factory, or what they would use in a trailer or something. It's like a foam type glue. Can you see that? I mean, what a mess. The mess on the headstock is equally disgusting. one little spot of CA glue right here, actually on the end of the fretboard. I would put a couple of spots, maybe two, one here and one here, and just a tiny dot of glue. Push the nut back on there, making sure it's centered between here and here. This nut was glued back on, and it was off by almost 2 millimeters. It was protruding out this side of the neck, almost 2 millimeters. Just you know, be careful about this kind of stuff, and you mar up the finish, and you can see that this glue doesn't even stick to the wood. So whatever they used was wrong and disgustingly ugly. Now we'll clean it all up and make it look nice, and the nut, if it needs to be taken off again, a repair technician will be able to knock that off. Now I have to clean all the old glue out of there and scrape the glue off the fretboard that was spread all over that. There we go. Here we are back. We have the nut problem solved and got all the glue and guck off of that. They used Gorilla Glue and the expanding foam type glue on this nut, so I removed all the glue from the nut, and it's ready to glue back on. But in the process of doing that, I have discovered this little problem. Let's see what's wrong with that picture. The fretboard has separated, or the fingerboard is separated from the neck. So you can see the gap here underneath the fretboard, so we're going to have to glue that back down. And I'm going to get started on that right now. I'm going to wet down a little bit of water down some wood glue, glue it up, clamp it off, and I'll probably pull the neck off of the guitar so that I can work on the electronics down here without the hassle of having some big clamps stuck on the neck up here. So that's the next thing to do. Yay. So we have the neck of the fretboard glued back on to the neck. By the way, this is the fretboard, this piece of rosewood here, and this part down here is the neck. This isn't the neck, this is the fingerboard, or the fretboard, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, got it glued up. Always let it sit overnight. We're going to pop these clamps off of here. You're seeing me do this for the first time today. And I'll see if I can get this off of here. And oh, look at that. Now, and you can see that that has sealed that fretboard to the neck. Again, fretboard, neck, fretboard, neck. This little extra glue that you can see, it happens. We take that off with a razor blade or a scraper. Get rid of that. You'll never know that that was there. I certainly wouldn't leave that on there. So looking really good. Going to go ahead, while I have the neck off of the guitar, to go ahead and clean the fretboard. I haven't cleaned it yet, and we're going to do a polish on the frets, and so we'll go from there. Looking really good. Happy. I have polished the frets. You can see how nice those look now. I have this wonderful light on my camera that allows you to see the glistening frets. I've replaced, cleaned up and fixed the nut. It was offset a little bit and had been Gorilla Glue or something had been used. 2 tiny drops of CA glue right about there and right about there on the end of the fretboard. So I don't put glue on the neck, on the wood under the saddle. I put it on the fretboard. That way, if the nut ever needs to be taken off by another technician, they hit it with a block of wood and it pops right off of there. And tiny little drops. Now, my favorite part of this whole process is putting oil on the fretboard. 24 frets on this guy. You can see the rosewood looks nice, huh? It looks really nice. Now, it looks like it's supposed to. This is linseed oil. If it's good enough for Keith Richards, it's good enough for anyone. If you put this on your fretboard, you'll live to be, I don't know, 200 or 300 years old. Isn't that how old he is? Something like that. And with linseed oil, you just rub it in and rub it off. See what that looks like, all wet. And paper towel, get all the excess off of there. It just takes a very small amount, just a few drops on a fretboard, even a 24 fret. You don't want to leave it puddled on here. We don't marinate the wood. Just get a little bit on there and let it do its job. Once a year. If you're playing a lot, maybe once every 6 months. This discoloration here on the fretboard is discolored from the glue that was on it, and I refrained from sanding that off of there. We'll let that fly. It's of no consequence. So now you can see that rosewood just really come to life. Looks beautiful. It's kind of dulled the frets a little bit, so we go back over the fretboard with a rag and knock the linseed oil off of the frets, and you can see that they look like that there, and they're a little duller up here, but as we hit them with the rag, boom, they really come to life. This makes intonation, string bending, chords a lot cleaner, especially bends. We've polished these with 2000 grit sandpaper and then some Never Dull on this one, and taking an ugly old dried out guitar neck, dirty, nasty, turn it into this work of art that it should be. So about time to put the neck back on the guitar, get some strings on this son of a gun. What do you think? Yep. On the inside of this guitar, and of course the output jack did not have a lock washer on it, so I've taken that out. The output jack goes right here. I've taken that out, installed a lock washer on the back side of that, so the output jack won't get loose again. And we are going to shoot some contact cleaner on the interior of these volume pots. Get those all cleaned up. I'm using Deoxit 5. I'm not sponsored by them, or they don't endorse them, but I do endorse their product. Not only does it clean the contacts inside these pots, but it also adds a bit of protection in there for future dust and dirt that might get inside the pots. Keeps them lubricated, keeps them working really well. We'll also put a little bit on the switch if I can. No, that's a sealed switch, so we will probably leave that alone, not waste any of this stuff. It's very expensive, but it works. I use it on every guitar that has electronics in it, and I also will use some alternate contact cleaner. I have another type of cleaner that I use to clean the output jacks on these things, and my cool little tool, where is it? Well, let's look. Where did it go? Where are you? You decided not to be right there. Where are you? Well, I'll find it. I have a cool little cleaning tool for cleaning the output jacks, and it's a little brush. Oh, there it is. It was right under my nose. Use this brush. I'm going to go ahead and use Deoxit on this. I'll show you how I do this. Put the brush in there, put a little shot of cleaner in it, and work it in and out. That way I know I'm getting the contact on the interior and the shaft here on the output jack will both get nice and cleaned and lubed up, protected, and we won't have to worry about that again. There you go. And one other little bit of advice or knowledge. Guitar polish works really well to clean your television monitor. If you have an LED television or high definition TV, this stuff is awesome for cleaning those. So really pretty inexpensive compared to a television cleaner. So if you go that route, feel free to use it. Hey. This is why I don't like flying V's, but this one's pretty cool. Peace.